And so, knowing that your day job is project manager with search engine optimization, right?
Hmm.
How does that parlay over into your role as publisher and marketer for books like Dorothy's and the rest of the catalog that you have available?
Yeah, it's unfortunately a lot of the time it's that age-old thing of the cobbler's children have no shoes, unfortunately. Um, so a lot of what I do with the authors in terms of, digital marketing, it's not just about me sort of throwing out the fishing net and trying to get readers. It's about, teach an author to fish kind of thing. And I remember when Dorothy first came on board with Inspired Quill, for example, we sat down and set up, her blog, and I periodically review author websites and blogs and make sure they're optimized, and do training about how to write a blog post that people will not only read but also find, which is obviously incredibly important, and all without burning out as well. Again, another horror story from the industry is you must have 10,000 followers on Twitter, 10,000 followers on Facebook, and blog every third Tuesday. And it's like, no, quite frankly, because you do that for 1 month, get burned out, and then hate it and never do it again. And what's the point? Um, so the crossover is really interesting, actually. I guess because obviously Inspired Quill came first before my current position with and you'll like the name of the company I work for because it's Exposure Ninja. Um, and yeah,
Sounds
so
like two
actually
people.
yeah, um, I kind of brought my project management expertise from Inspired Quill over to Exposure Ninja, and not the other way around, really, which is interesting, I guess.
Well, let's go back to our meet cute we were building to. Dorothy, you submitted. You had you just finished the first book, or where were you in the series when you submitted?
Um, I would say I had just finished the first book and I sent it to Sarah, but it's kind of hard to tell when any book was just finished because I've had drafts of this sitting around like since 2007 or something. It's a ridiculously long time ago. And I try and I'd set it aside and say, no, that's not very good. And I would revise and send it out. So when I sent it to Sarah, it's true I had just finished the latest revision. So I had just finished it, yes, but it had taken me a long time. Yes, so I guess that was that. The answer to that is yes, I had just finished it.
Fair enough. And how long did it take you to write from your first draft to that version that you were submitting?
Oh, seriously? I mean, what do you count? Because there would be times when I would be not looking at it at all. I would be fiddling with some other book, right? But it would not surprise me if it was, um, maybe as long as 8, 9 years. That there are old drafts sitting there that I wouldn't let anybody see. You know. So yeah, it takes me a long time to get something right. I can spit out a draft pretty quickly, but then I have to think about it and think, well, what is this really about? Um, what do these characters really need? What is this missing? What does it need? And so by the time Sarah got it had been through a lot of revision. I send it to beta readers, and then work it over, and it's just I take it to my writing group, So yeah, I like revising, and I would revise forever. If she hadn't taken it, I'd probably still be revising it.
And for a series, did you have some idea of what the second two books would be, or was it just
No,
let's worry about this story and then maybe we'll come up with something later?
I was just worried about the first one, working on that. But then, I couldn't let the other two characters go. It's really hard to part from characters who've been in your head for a long time and you've been thinking about what they're worried about, what they're afraid of, what makes them happy. You, just, you can't just, at least I can't just walk away from them. It's very hard to let them go. And so, particularly, so the first one I picked up was Jarka. I was very interested in him, and So I wrote him a book, so I didn't have to say goodbye to him.
And then Sarah, so over to you. You're reading the slush and saying terrible, dreadful. Who told you could write? Oh my God!
Oh
So
God.
Dorothy Winsor, the whole world stops. The music swells. The light brightens from the manuscript. What's your experience of why was Dorothy's story one that appealed to you and that you knew you must publish?
First of all, Dorothy actually decided to go with what we ask a submission to be at Inspired Quill. The amount of submissions that we get that do not follow the guidelines, and I mean, some publishing houses say, 12.4 font in Times New Roman with this and this and this, and we're just like, please let it be in Microsoft Word because I don't have a Mac, and please tell us the genre, the word count, and the synopsis. Like, I don't think we ask for much. The amount of PDFs I receive when I open submissions, the amount of books that are... I once had a submission of a book that was 248,000 words.
My goodness.
And I say very specifically on the site, 50 to 110K, and that's what we do. So yeah, first of all, she actually decided to follow the guidelines. So thank you, Dorothy, for that. And it's really interesting because lots of people will say within the first 10 seconds, a publisher knows whether they want to take a book on or not. For me, it's more, I know in the first 10 seconds if it's a definite no. It takes a little bit more to for me to warm up to a book. I think it's only happened twice in Inspired Quill's 9 years where I've read the first page of a book and gone, yes. And one of those, unfortunately, we ended up not publishing. But so from my perspective, it was a solid opening, had a really good sense of place, really good sense of pacing as well. And I could tell that, care had gone into writing it. There were no typos on the first page. There were, just the, and this is going to sound really wishy-washy and woo-woo perhaps, but I got a good feeling about it. So yeah, I read the whole thing, and then so we asked for the first 2 chapters, normally from a manuscript, and then
that doesn't
I asked
sound
for the
how
whole
woo
thing.
woo would be if you looked in the mirror the next morning and written on it in blood was Dorothy Windsor. Oh well, then yes.
Windsor or bust.
Right. Yeah.
No, a good feeling makes perfect sense. I'm sorry, I derailed you. You were saying?
No. It's so yeah, effectively read it through. It was already in a really, really good place, and selfishly, it's good to know that it's not going to have to go through 10 rounds of revisions. Although from my perspective, I would much rather work with an author who's a good storyteller than a good writer. So you can teach someone how to write and, put the words in the right order and do the grammar and, is it lay, lie, lane, laid, all of that kind of stuff. But it's really difficult to find an author who really believes in what they're writing, even though they're writing sci-fi or fantasy or whatever, and has that connection with the characters.